Hello and welcome back to the Niche Football Podcast hosted by me, Cavan Campbell. The aim of this podcast is to focus on the more unique stories in football, the ones that you may not have heard of. This podcast will run alongside Niche Football Journalism.co.uk in bringing you interesting stories from around the world in a more narrative and storytelling format than your usual football podcast, and one that aims to tell a unique story in every episode. And in today's episode, we are turning back the clock to the first piece ever written for the website Niche Football Journalism. And timing not great, we are on about an Iranian goalkeeper, Alireza Beiranvand. So, let's get this one kicked off. We'll paint the picture. Sat in the local watering hole on a Saturday evening, watching the 5:30 kick-off with your friends, reminiscing over some obscure footballers, bringing with them happy memories of times gone by. The likes of Adel Tarabt, Hatem Ben Arfa, and the one-season wonder Michu, all skillful players and almost untouchable on their day. Suddenly, someone mentions that feared name, Rory Delap, and abruptly, there's a chill in the air. The fear of facing one of them long, flat, direct throws into your team's penalty area, filling you with despair and angst. Nobody knew what was about to unfold. This got me thinking, do my friends know about the man with the world record throw in football? I mentioned the name, and I am greeted with looks of confusion. Nobody heard of Alireza Beiranvand. This is the story of the world record holder. Born 21st of September 1992 in the Lorestan province in western Iran, it's safe to say Alireza did not have the most customary of upbringings. Being born into a nomadic family, this was never going to be the case, as there was never really a time in his life where he had the opportunity to call anywhere home. Alireza opened his eyes to football as a 12-year-old, signing for a local outfit as a tall, slender striker. However, he soon found his love for goalkeeping and relished every opportunity he was given to stand between those hollowed sticks and prevent the happiness of all the strikers of which he was prior. This was a new thrill for him, but that clearly he couldn't get enough of. There were many obstacles in the way, none more than his own father, Mortaza Beiranvand. He was a shepherd who did not see the appeal of football and certainly did not see a career waiting for Alireza. In a 2018 interview, Alireza was asked about his childhood and the influence his father played on his budding career as a goalkeeper. And the answer given was not one of joy or happiness as we come to expect from the usual enlightening journey of a footballer. Instead, Alireza spoke about the times his father would commonly tear up his gloves and his kit to deter Alireza from playing football, wanting him to focus on more viable options in life that may come his way. To a lot of young children, particularly at the age of 12, this might be the end of a dream, but not in this instance. At the humble age of 18, Alireza made the decision to risk it all and run from his father and run from his nomadic lifestyle and run for his dreams. Running away from home for many people seems impossible and implausible. This becomes more apparent when you think that Alireza ran away from his home and his family in the Islamic Republic of Iran, a nation commonly found on the lists of the world's top 20 dangerous countries. And just as you start to think it isn't enough, the west of Iran, the Lorestan province, is a very mountainous region, so even traversing the harsh landscapes is difficult enough. Is there anything riskier than running from your family halfway across a highly dangerous country as a teenager, with nothing but a dream and a will to succeed? Perhaps not. But Alireza found himself in Tehran, the capital of Iran, and this wasn't successful enough to simply get to where he needed to be geographically. Alireza was not prepared to stop there. A common realization for runaways is that when they reach their destination, they come to discover that they have no place to go, and this was no different. For Alireza, he had just run across the country to become homeless in the capital city at the age of 18. Working odd jobs such as car washing, pizza making, and even in a dress-making factory to scrape enough money together to survive on the streets of Tehran, Alireza would often sleep right on the doorsteps of the Azadi Tower and outside the football club where he managed to get an invitation to trial. Passers-by assumed this young man was a homeless beggar trying to get by in life, but little did they know that this homeless man was about to become arguably the greatest goalkeeper in the history of Asian football. Unlike many runaway stories, however, Alareza's does have a happy ending. After completing his trial period, he was accepted into the football club, Naft Tehran, one of the most prestigious clubs in Iranian football. He had done it, from living a nomadic life in Loristan to running away, chasing his dreams and living homeless. Alireza Beiranvand had become a professional goalkeeper, and he went on to make 68 appearances for Naft Tehran between 2011 and 2016, before securing arguably the biggest move you can make in Iranian football, joining giants Persepolis. This wasn't a smooth transition though, as Naft Tehran chairman Mansour Gambazadeh, might have pronounced that wrong, refused the transfer of the goalkeeper who had helped the club to a third place finish and qualification to the AFC Champions League. After numerous rumours of a move to Persepolis, he finally got his wish at the end of his contract where he made the switch. May 2016, and Alireza signs for Persepolis, a team consistently battling at the top of the table and winning more often than not. His first international call-up came in 2014, but did not make an appearance until January 2015 in a match against Iraq, and this was just a sign of things to come for the dedicated goalkeeper. The year before joining Persepolis, they had just finished second in the league, but 4 years at the club for Alireza and Persepolis had won 4 league titles on the bounce, and at the heart of it all was a goalkeeper who lived on the streets until he made his dream come true. During his time at Persepolis, Alireza also took them to the final of the AFC Champions League twice, unfortunately finishing runners-up on both occasions, but the club had never been there and have never been there since Alireza Beiranvand graced their goal. This all stems from a conversation about Rory Delap. If you type in on YouTube or Google longest football throw, the search engines will throw up, pardon the pun, two names, Rory Delap and Alireza Beiranvand. There was a famous clip of a 2015 AFC Champions League round of 16 match against Al Ali, who we all have come to have known in recent times. The clip is of Alireza collecting a high ball, and he went on to throw the ball overarm over 60 metres. The shock of everyone when they see this clip is unnerving. Nobody can understand how and why he can or even does this. It is not a one-time thing either. He often uses his trebuchet of an arm to launch quick counter-attacks. None more so than the time in 2014 against Tractor Sarzi, in which he actually recorded his first assist by throwing the ball over 60 metres for his teammate to score. An unbelievable trait to have, and one that has gone under the radar for so long, as streaming the Persian Gulf Pro League and the AFC Champions League is not the easiest task to complete in Europe. Reflecting a little more on his international career then, it was not the prettiest of starts after making a few non-competitive appearances for the national side. His first competitive one was a game to forget. During the 2018 World Cup qualifying, Iran's then first-choice goalkeeper, Alireza Hagigi, again, might have said that wrong, he was denied visa entry to Guam, throwing Alireza Beiranvand into the deep end. However, he was shown a straight red card in the 72nd minute for a foul on Dylan Naputi. From that moment, though, Alireza had become irreplaceable. He had forced his way into becoming the national side's number one and hasn't looked back since. Possibly his most famous moment in a football shirt came in 2018 in the World Cup. The final group game of Iran's tournament, they faced up to Portugal and 1-0 down to a Quaresma goal on the stroke of half time. Iran were down but not out. Iran's dreams were almost all but crushed if it wasn't for Alireza Beiranvand. Just after half time, a penalty was awarded after a VAR check. This was the moment. Alireza Beiranvand facing five-time Ballon d'Or winner Cristiano Ronaldo. The world expected only one outcome, but there was only one man that wanted to defy the world of such joy, Alireza. Leaping to his left and miraculously saving the penalty that left the football world shook. People were asking, who was this man who had denied the great Cristiano Ronaldo in a World Cup from the penalty spot? His name, Alireza Beiranvand. Iran, buoyed from this moment, went on to equalise in the 93rd minute of regular time. But ultimately, it wasn't enough to see them progress. But still, that moment will live on in Iranian football. Turning back to club football now, in 2020, Alireza took the opportunity to play in Europe for the first time, moving to Belgium's Royal Antwerp. But he never really made his mark there with just 10 appearances for the club, and he was shipped out on loan, ironically, after the World Cup, to Portuguese side Bela Vista, of which again he could not cement a place with only 8 appearances at the club. A man who was such a titan of Iranian and Asian goalkeeping, and a hero amongst others for his heroics in the World Cup. He just could not seem to transition into European club football. So after 2 years away from his home nation, he returned to Persepolis, and with that came the return of the Persian Gulf Pro League title after they had failed to lift the trophy the season before in his absence. His inspired goalkeeping led to 18 clean sheets in 30 games, conceding just 13 goals, meaning they conceded more than one goal on just one occasion throughout the season. In 2022, Alireza came back to the World Cup as Iran's number one goalkeeper, and he was there making the headlines once again, but unfortunately, not for the right reasons. During the group game against England, Alireza collided with defender Majid Hosseini and was clearly struggling with concussion. For whatever reason, still unclear to many, he was allowed to continue. The scrutiny that came down on the officials and medical staff was heavy laden, with many people calling it an abject failure of following concussion protocol. After a few minutes, he lay down on the ground and was finally substituted and taken to a nearby hospital, where the concussion was confirmed, forcing Alireza to miss the next game against Wales, where Iran famously won late on. To many then, it was a surprise to see him back between the sticks in Iran's last group game against the United States of America. There was an underlying thought. On one hand, yes, he's the nation's best and number one goalkeeper. On the other, should he be allowed to play having been severely concussed just days before? Was there enough time for him to recover? Only he will know. But the majority of people felt dubious about his decision to play. Iran ultimately lost the game 1-0 and exited the World Cup at the group stage yet again. But it was once more Alireza Beiranvand making the headlines for his nation. Throughout his career, he has collected numerous awards, including the Persian Gulf Pro League Best Goalkeeper on 4 occasions, being in the league's Team of the Year on 4 occasions also, Iranian Football of the Year 2019, the AFC Asian Cup Team of the Tournament, and notably the AFC Fans' Best Player of All Time at the FIFA World Cup, although experts placed him fifth behind Park Ji-sung, Tim Cahill, Sami Al-Jaber and Kosuke Honda. All in all, so far Alireza has had a successful career overall. Perhaps not making the step up to European football hampers his legacy, but to have won so many club trophies and a number of personal accolades, defining moments in the national team, and holding a world record for the longest throw. It's not been a bad career. Alireza Beiranvand continues to play for Persepolis at the age of 31. So expect to see him in at least another World Cup. In fact, I think he might be at track to Sarsi now. I would have to double check that. But that's not bad going for a young man from a nomadic family in Western Iran who ran away from his family to pursue his dreams. Alireza is more than the man who can throw the ball further than anyone else. To many in his home nation of Iran, his story serves as an inspiration, showing that dedication and taking risks can lead you to great heights. And you never know, it could all lead to facing a penalty from Cristiano Ronaldo one day. That is usually where the final whistle goes in the story, but with current headlines, we may not see Alireza at the World Cup because of the ongoing missile crisis in the Middle East regarding Iran, America, Bahrain, and all that. Let's hope though that a solution is found in the midst of all this drama, and that we can see Iran uh, take their place in the World Cup of what their football team and their football fans do truly deserve, and it's where they belong. So there is the final whistle. If you have any thoughts, head over to the website and leave a comment on the article. All feedback is appreciated, even ways in which to improve the podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, a 5-star review on Spotify would be amazing. Remember to tell your friends. Follow the socials at Niche Football Pod on Instagram and now launched on TikTok as well for some short clips. More articles are available on the website, nichefootballjournalism.co.uk. We have got some exciting guests coming up, so you keep your eyes out for that. And I've been your host, Cavan, and I'll see you at the next kickoff.